All right, we're good to go whenever you are, Mr. Chairman.
All right, thank you, Mr. Clapp. Can we call the meeting to order? And I'm gonna ask Councilman Gregg to bring a few words.
Oh, sorry, you got me.
Gotcha.
Yep.
Let's just do a quick moment of silence, please. Thank you.
Thank you. Chair entertains a motion to approve the minutes of November
moved.
17th. Properly moved in.
Second.
Second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. Down to item E, which would be acceptance and dedication of rights of way and easements. The crossing at West Ashley. Who's going to address that? Mr. Bucci?
Chairman, so this is dedication about 750 linear feet of Sky Road out in West Ashley. It's been a long time coming, but fully inspected and ready to go.
Okay. Any observations from committee members? What's your pleasure?
Move for approval.
Second.
Probably moved and seconded. Any more discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Item E2, authorization to notify SCDO2 that the city intends to accept. Did that motion take care of one or one and two? That's the
I think
second one.
2 is
Okay.
Matt Fountain's item, Mr.
Okay.
Chairman, I think.
Thank you, Mr. Fountain.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Yeah, I think you just motioned for item 1 on the first vote. This one is a item with the DuPont Wapu Drainage Improvement Project on phase 1 along Orleans Road and tying into the Hazelwood Taperwood neighborhood. We're installing some sidewalk as part of the project through coordination with the city planning department. In addition to some of the components of the sidewalk, some of the drainage structures, SCDOT is requiring us to maintain those under the encroachment agreement, as you would expect. So that's what this is. Permission to enter into that agreement.
I'm gonna be selfish. I'm gonna thank you for getting to this one, Mr. Fountain. This checks the box for people in District 7. Is there a motion?
Move for approval.
Properly moved in.
Second.
Okay. The seconds are hard to come by. I don't know what it is after 5 o'clock, man. Any more discussion on E2? Hearing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Now the temporary encroachment, not enclosures. Well, we got a lot of them. Anything stick out from the norm?
Mr. Chairman, those are my items, but no, just irrigation, driveways, and fences.
Okay,
The classic
thank you.
stuff.
I know that's provided for information. Down to item I, Department of Development Services update, I1.
Yep, Mr. Chairman, this would be my item as well.
Okay,
So this is a memorandum of agreement to have a developer pay for a third-party review fees. They've contacted us and reached out to us about this, and we said, yes, we will work with you to do that. So we've created this MOA to get that done. We do plan on creating a more formal process moving forward to allow potential developers to reach out to us. So this is kind of hopefully the first step to have this approach.
and excuse me, who chooses the third party review?
We assign the reviewers based on
Okay.
who we have contracted. We have 3 firms contracted, so they requested it, but we choose who the reviewer is.
Good deal. It's a pleasure of the body.
I got a quick question. Well, I guess we need a motion to have
I
discussion?
think the mayor moves. We need a second to get it on the
Move for
floor.
approval, yeah.
Second.
Okay, all right, Councilman Gregg.
Is this the first time we've had one of these third-party reviews? Because we sort of set up the framework for this a while back, and then I don't recall having seen another one of these come through the committee.
Right. So we have used third-party reviews since the contract was adopted, I think in 2024. However, it is the first time where it has been requested specifically by a developer. And we said, hey, if you want it for this specific project, we always have the right to use it as needed. But
Okay.
because they requested it, we said, if you really want it for this one, they offered to pay for it, and we said, yep, we could work on an MOA to get that done. So we're in the future going to set up parameters of situations when developers can elect to do that. However, it would still be our decision on if we allow it based on staffing and other things along those lines.
Okay, got it. Thank you. Thank you for the
Yeah.
clarification.
Any additional comments? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. I2, ordinance to amend city's code to modify storm water management standards and exemptions for redevelopment.
Yes,
Mr.
this is my
Fountain, okay.
this is my item as well, Mr. Chairman. So this is just to make a change to a section in the ordinance that was already changed in the manual, the Stormwater Design Standard Manual. That requirement referenced this section. So we had to update this section to make the two documents consistent with one another. So everything we've talked about in the Stormwater Design Standard Manual is still in place. And this is just to make sure they're consistent.
Okay,
Move for approval.
Second.
probably moving second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? J1, stormwater management update. This will be Mr. Fountain. Right, okay,
Yep, thank you, Mr. Chairman. So
okay.
I'm going to start sharing a presentation just as we get through a couple of the more complicated items. So the first are relatively straightforward. So the first item is permission to accept from SCRA a grant agreement that would provide $1.5 million of state funding towards the Central Park Drainage Improvement Project. Any questions on that? This is the map kind of showing all the different projects going on in the area. The city project that would receive this funding is specifically the road crossing and canal improvements starting at Riley Road, moving under the driveway for the EME apartments, going north across Central Park Road, paralleling Wimbledon, and kind of tying up to Houghton.
Okay. All right. We have a motion.
Move for approval.
And second, any more discussion? All in favor? Please say aye.
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 Any opposed? Thank you. J2, Cooper Jackson Drainage Project, Mr. Fountain.
Yeah, thanks, Mr. Chairman. So this one is permission to apply for a grant that we are hoping to be awarded, looking for $5 million of funding through the South Carolina Office of Resilience on phase 1 of the Cooper Jackson project, which we discussed a meeting or two ago, related to improvements along Morrison Drive, the crossing under Morrison Drive, and then the connection down into the current parking area that ties into Lee Street, to basically improve the ability to drain this section of the Upper East Side, what we call the Cooper Jackson drainage basins, out into the marsh. There will be a second phase of project that will work through some of Lee, America, and Aiken as well. Phase 1's being shifted to be able to kind of quick start the work that doesn't require as complex a set of utility relocations, and it lines up well with the funding that SCORE has available for the project. So a good way to get contractor underway and design work finished and contractor underway in the next year to 18 months, looking at probably a design build approach for this project because of the utility coordination aspects even on this section. SCORE is open to that. So good funding agency for the project. Happy to answer any questions.
Okay. Committee, motion, please.
Move for approval.
Second.
Probably moving second. Hearing no discussion. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Mr. Fountain, J3, the small project allocation option.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman. So this is looking at some possible project options for the 2026 funding allocation of $1.5 million for eventual council consideration. So I'm going to walk through very, very briefly the list of projects that we've developed through a combination of citizen requests, councilmember requests, in-house engineering that has progressed up to a level of small project, review those projects, likely costs, how we're seeing a breakdown of cash flow over the coming couple of years for those projects, and then obviously have the ability to modify or adjust that as necessary and eventually come to council with a recommendation. So since this might take a minute, I will try to be relatively quick getting through. First project, and these are in no particular order, try to randomize them a little bit. This is something that's a little bit different than what we've done before. Talking about a pipe modernization pilot program. We have a lot of neighborhoods throughout the city with very old pipe systems that are often undersized that were put in before modern stormwater regulation. If you're in the much older neighborhoods, they're often made out of either vitrified clay. Some of West Ashley is still CMP in tidal areas. Many challenges with that. A lot of modernization needed. Most of those are also drastically undersized versus what they would be again for a modern system. So we're looking at trying to build an annual recurring portion of the small project budget that goes in and upsizes and replaces one of these older failing pipe systems. The one that we had recommended is in Wagner Terrace along Peachtree. Most of this 100-acre drainage basin currently flows through a 10-inch diameter vitrified clay pipe with some tree root issues and some other challenges. So this one stretched out over a couple of years, as you'll see when we get to the budget slides, but looking at a replacement of that pipe, as well as potentially some of the side street pipes with a more modern sized and concrete pipe installation. Mill Creek Drive ditch improvements. This is over in just off of kind of the Air Harbor neighborhood in West Ashley. Basically, we have some constrictions in older existing piped in sections of this ditch, and then some areas where open ditch canal maintenance would be an improvement, as well as potentially some outfall permitting as we get into some tidally influenced areas. See some heavy flooding on the streets in this neighborhood. Looking at doing some replacements of those existing undersized pipes, again, improvement of that open ditch, and potentially some environmental permitting to restore that marsh section through the bottom. This is Bennett, the intersection of Bennett and Gadsden near Alberta Long Lake. Look, this is another approach we take, and we've had some success with in the past, Mr. Chairman, of looking at a kind of a concept level preliminary design of a larger scale project as a way to quick start that and determine what the budget would be in order to complete the more complex, larger scale work in the future. This lets us go for grant opportunities, also finalize any real estate needs or permitting needs early into a project and not have that slow down an eventual design to construction. So in this situation, we're looking at the intersection of Bennett and Gadsden, very heavily flooded. Could we install a small permanent lift station rather than continually putting out mobile pumps in this location? I see Councilman Seekins says
Yeah, I don't
Yes,
understand
on
for
that.
some unearthly reason, Councilman Seekins would have a question about this, but Councilman?
Well, I was going to let Matt finish his soliloquy on this, and then I just want to make a quick comment, Mr. Chairman, because I've got a meeting at 5:15 that I need to cut out on. I'd just like to say one thing after he's finished, if you don't mind.
Okay, Mr. Fountain, you up.
I think again, this one is looking at that concept work, trying to evaluate where the real estate would be to put the lift station, finalize that, and be able to roll potentially into a capital improvement project or a larger scale small project if we can build a station of a size that can be funded through the small project program, to again try to keep this moving and get it into construction as quickly as possible if we decide to go that route.
Councilman Seekins.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And Matt, thank you for putting this on the list and explaining it. I just wanted to make a note, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, that this corner of Bennett Gadsden is also part and parcel of a little bit larger drainage basin, which includes, but is not limited to, Ashley Avenue as you go towards Rutledge and parts of Rutledge as well. And when we put the permanent pumps out there that go into an existing manhole, which then leads to a drainage plane, it really, in advance of storms, helps with the flooding. And then when the storms do come, really helps move the drainage out of there. It is where the proposed pump would be is on where is currently existing a surface parking lot. And we have actually met with the owner of that parking lot, and he has identified on his property a space in the back corner, which is pretty aligned with where we'd want to put the outfall. So we've gone a long way in sort of identifying the logistics of this project. So I think as this goes through the small project allocation process, it's pretty advanced and really will give us a ton of bang for our buck. So clearly it's in my district, but I think just generally this is one to advocate through the project allocation process because of really the benefit that it gives to the northwestern corner of Charleston Village, which also is a gateway to and includes some offices for MUSC. So thank you.
No, I understand it completely. Any other input from?
Well, last thing I would say is what we do here currently is every time a storm is coming or high tide, we just put a temporary pump out there for a day or a week. It costs us a bunch of money. And I think really for the amount of outlay on the front end, this is one that we could really justify because we're spending money that we're not getting any ownership interest in. So I'll now be quiet.
You got a fan in me. Let's put it like that. I got great respect for the needs of Calhoun West. Mr. Fountain?
Yep, thank you, Mr. Chairman. So next project, this is Harborview Road, where there's an outfall from the Country Club 2 neighborhood on Burning Tree, comes down into Harborview Road, flows down Harborview Road, as well as draining Harborview Road itself. Then that flows north out into a marsh outfall. It's been an area we've looked at quite a bit with the legislative delegation, SCDOT, county, city. The outfall is definitely in need of maintenance, may possibly be undersized. So this is a project to look at potentially upsizing the connection from Country Club 2 into Harborview Road, evaluating potentially upsizing the outfall from Harborview into the marsh, and then cleaning that section through the marsh and draining out this whole relatively heavily flooded section, James Island. So let's see, next project, Cumberland Street outfall. This is basically right next to Fleet Landing. We replaced some outfall pipes in this area we've connected some of the pipes together, much better drainage in the street through this section, but one of the outfalls has gotten relatively impacted by accumulation of marsh sediments over time. Need to clean that back out. So this is another project to go back and clean out that marsh section now that the pipes are all repaired and functional in this location. Fenwick Drive, pipe improvements, Inner West Ashley. This neighborhood has some drainage inlets in it, interestingly, but the inlets, Frank Newham spent a lot of time in this neighborhood before he retired recently. Most of the inlets don't really connect to each other or to the drainage systems. I assume there was a lot of disconnection when Folly Road kind of migrated and some of the improvement work and widening work went on. So it's coming back to install some piping to connect some of these boxes back into that existing Folly Road system. Lenavar Canal improvements, the city in the Lenavar neighborhood. Councilman Warren, this is just south of the Dowden Road improvements and just south of Ashley Landing, the neighborhoods that kind of come into that same drainage system from the south rather than the Ashley Landing where it comes in from the north. This is improvements to, you can kind of see in the bottom right there's a relatively significant ditch and canal system that drains a number of these streets and neighborhoods, but is in a very narrow easement. Looking at doing some letters of access as well as contracted tree removal to be able to get our equipment in there to do more effective maintenance. We've done what we could with hand clean crews over the last couple of years, really needs one more level of rehabilitation. Norview Drive, this is a very small project, a good example of how small we can get in the small project allocation. There's a rear yard drainage system. There's a public infrastructure drainage system that drains Chelwood and some of the other streets, as well as Norview, that drains through some rear yards in a pipe system to get to a marsh outfall. We want to replace some of the boxes along that area where they can take surface drainage as well. We need to clean and improve a couple of those pipe sections, and then evaluate this marsh outfall and see if we need additional marsh outfall cleaning to deal with some localized flooding through this drainage corridor where the pipe basically overfills and spills into some of the back neighborhoods. Shadow Moss Parkway, Outer West Ashley. Lot of CMP pipe, interestingly, in Shadow Moss, starting to have some serious issues with corrosion and potential for collapse. We've done some smaller repair work on different pipes throughout that neighborhood over the last few years. This is a slightly larger pipe, as you can see, going under Shadow Moss Parkway. We want to come in and do a plastic liner in that pipe, stabilize it, make sure it's not going to collapse before we can do that. Much cheaper to do it now before we see collapse. Relatively straightforward project, but very impactful for not having that road potentially sinkhole or collapse in the future. This is the Councilman Waring one you're familiar with. The Montclair Lake is what we'll call it for lack of a better term, but Montclair Road drains down into this lake structure that the city had acquired with some support from the mayor, from the beach company, and some other property owners, as well as some Greenbelt funding that went into some acquisitions in the area. Many of these roads have some drainage and flooding concerns. There is an existing outfall structure you can see in this bottom right photo that does drain the lake and prevents high tide water from coming in into the lake from the opposite side of the marsh. However, the outfall structure does not seem large enough to be able to drain the stormwater out as efficiently as it needs to based on how much development and water comes in. This drains all the way back to like Savage Road. Very large drainage area coming through this area. We did some work previously with field ops, remove some blockages, restore the storage abilities of the pond. But this would be the next stage of work to improve that outfall structure, to be able to get stormwater out of the lake more efficiently and prevent it from backing up entirely, or stormwater flood in some of the areas.
Okay.
Brownswood Road outfall improvements, so moving into Johns Island. Brownswood Road is one of these interesting ones. It's a DOT maintained road that has some challenges for drainage along it, but there are a number of city developments that drain into the DOT road. So we're looking at how can we improve the ability of Brownswood to drain so that these city developments, in the picture you see here is with summer trees, that drain into the DOT road and then can't drain through the DOT system to get dry. Basically, the DOT system backs up, ends up backing up into those residential neighborhoods. So this is an assessment of how do we improve these very difficult outfalls from the Brownswood Road system. One of them is highlighted here, and you can see the geometry and the angle between properties and existing structures is very challenging for large-scale drainage. So looking for long-term improvements in that system and make it a little bit more functional and maintainable. One more on Johns Island here. Fenwick Plantation area, 2 outfall cleaning projects, very relatively short outfalls for cleaning purposes to where they connect to open marsh, but there's significant accumulation of sediment right at those outfalls, so getting those clean would really help this neighborhood drain out more efficiently. Moving back into Inner West Ashley, this is Westwood, Avondale along Moore Drive, looking at a system that currently drains both north across 61 and south across Highway 17 to drain out Avondale and Westwood. It's mostly a rear yard pipe system that's not easemented and very undersized. The crossings under both Highway 17 and St. Andrews Boulevard are very small pipes for very large drainage basins. Trying to do this one is actually an assessment to see what can we combine into the Avondale intersection improvements potentially on the south. If that project has an opportunity to do drainage improvements, what can we look at for potential large-scale road improvements along 17 and 61? And is there anything more straightforward we can do in the short term to improve drainage in, again, pretty heavily flooded areas? So now that I've talked for quite a while about all of those, here's a summary. At the top, you'll see the projects we approved at the end of 2024 for 2025 funding that also included additional work that would need to be done in 26 or 27. So there is some continued work on North Nassau for pipe improvements in coordination with a sidewalk that the city is putting in with some TST funding. There are some neighborhood culvert improvements in the Cross Creek neighborhood on James Island that we started evaluation survey on this year. And then there is a pretty substantial drainage improvement along Signal Point Road in James Island, where we did our initial survey and design work this year, and we'll look to move into construction next year. When you add up the funding for FY 2026, we're sitting at right at $1.5 million currently. Because some of these projects are a little bit longer in permitting timeframe, there is spending that would occur in 2027, showing about $1 million in 2027 to be able to complete those construction efforts. So again, this is presented for the committee's interest and awareness. Mr. Chairman, if you want any modifications, adjustments, we certainly can do that. We could also look at approving with this approach, many different options.
Okay, thank you. Councilmember Gregg.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Mr. Fountain. Mr. Fountain, we talked a couple times. We've been looking at the curbs out here in District 1 that are all getting pushed up by street trees when they planted all the live oaks here, which not for street trees. Can we look at trying to get some future allocation to start sort of programmatically looking at those? Because I just worry in 5 years we're going to have, it's going to go from being a small project to a large project. I have to fix all these curbs.
Yeah, that's a good idea, Councilor Gregg. We could try to do like a maintenance pilot level work this year and get a pricing idea of what that would cost, and then try to set an allocation to say how many per year could we go through and modify. Those tend to, as you know, tend to involve opening the curb, adjusting the tree roots, and then trying to reset everything with a growth barrier to try to minimize that return. So it's a pretty repeatable project once we have a cost idea of what that would be. So we could certainly take a look at that this year.
And I think the tree survey captured where the street trees were pushing up the curbs, but it's starting to cause problems with the way the stormwater is flowing into the curb inlets. So would definitely like to try to get a handle on that sometime. Maybe if we could look at pilot project or something this year and then figure out what we need in the coming years, that'd be helpful.
Yep, we could definitely take a look at that.
Thank you.
Could this small project list, this presentation right here, could you push that out to council members via email?
Yes, absolutely, Mr. Chairman.
That'd be great.
Be good.
All right, so you all in, Mr. Fountain?
That is all I had for you today, Mr. Chairman. Just a few things.
All right, man. Well, seriously, thank you for the upkeep. These small projects, that most of them are right where the people live, and you really get so much bang for the buck when we get some of those things accomplished. So
yeah, we're over. I think we're over 40 completed projects in the last 5 years, Mr. Chairman, since you've been kind of supporting us with the small project allocation, and been, I think, incredibly successful use of about $5 million to date for about 40 small projects.
I tell you what, it was your initial idea, and I think we started out at Cogswell with about $500,000 or something like that to start. Us has grown, but it makes a big difference in neighborhoods where people slosh around the water at the wrong time.
That's right.
Okay, that takes care of. I'm so joyful to see your list, man. I lost my place on the agenda.
I think that was it.
Is it? Yeah, okay, wow. Okay.
I believe we have
We got miscellaneous.
non-standard-
There's a miscellaneous item.
Yeah, miscellaneous non-standard service.
Oh.
Funding underground, 56 State Street. So since council member Seeking is gone, we don't have to do that. I'm just kidding.
I can speak on this one. This is something we've been working on with Dominion and the developer there, the old Magic Market or Little Cricket or at the intersection of Cumberland and State. And we're working on not just this block, but really undergrounding all of Cumberland from Concord to Meeting Street, and getting a lot of these major developments like the Four Seasons and the efforts on Union Pier and this hotel and some other efforts that are happening along, because there are very few property owners actually along that street to bury all of these lines. But we're also complementing it with efforts that are ongoing with Ansonboro and the market. So trying to do it and plan it collectively so that we're not doing it piecemeal. And we think that'll be much more cost effective and be able to stretch our dollars further. So this is the beginning of a much larger effort, but it's an important first step forward to get the ball rolling.
Okay, that's just the information. We need to take a vote on it.
Yeah, well, I don't know. Do we have to take? I think we have to approve.
Please.
Yes. Okay, so I'll make a motion for approval.
All right, good deal. Get a second. Probably moving second. Any more discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? All right, that's it, man. Get to see all y'all good looking people tomorrow, man. So y'all have
That's right. But in
Yeah.
person, lucky
Yeah.
you.
So you did the kickoff for the
Low line was
line
awesome.
today. How did that go?
Great. Very crowded. I mean, it's a popular project. I
Oh
think.
yeah. Yeah.
And they're raising a bunch of money. I mean, there was $3 million in commitments
Wonderful.
already. So
It's wonderful.
yeah.
Good deal. All right.